what was your biggest failure, or you can say setback that you have faced during this journey?
I actually don't call failures failures. Like, this is me. There's no failure. There's always a learning. There's always a lesson. All the money I earned, I burnt into those side hustles. And that was my, MBA fee. I think it is changing now. But again, it is, I see, so like when, like pre-COVID, if we talk about, we were looking to raise some funds. Everyone would come and tap on your shoulder. बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही हो, करती हो. As part of our training and consulting division, we train other tourism and hospitality stakeholders, other travel companies, how to do it right. I'm creating my own competitors.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, and like in the sense, okay, how if we have more and more travel companies doing it, if we have more and more hotels investing in training their staff.
Imagine wanting to travel around the world, but yet held back not by your dreams, but by the societal pressure. Today, Inspire India Talks welcome to our new guest. She is an social entrepreneur, a change maker, and a founder of Planet Abled. We welcome to Neha Arora to our show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Neha, welcome to Inspire India Talks. Let us know who is Neha Arora behind the Planet Abled.
Well, to describe in one line, Neha Arora is a rebel who is liberated by free will and who likes breaking societal norms, questioning everything, and trying to become the best version of myself with each passing day or each passing month and each passing year.
That sounds great. So, Neha,
And
like
trying to make travel accessible and inclusive of everyone.
so, I think your journey has been deeply personal. So, what actually made, like, what is your understanding of inclusive?
See, being inclusive means that no one is excluded from anything, whether it's education, shopping, retail, employment, and having access to not just, the basic or the bare minimum, but having access to life without any barriers. That is what being inclusive is, or living in an inclusive world is.
Sounds great. So, you had a successful corporate career. So, what was that very one moment that made you like you can go for the you can go out of your comfort zone?
Uh, well, see, the thing is, it was not one thing. However, it did had a tipping point. But what it was years of experience that, okay, I never traveled as a child. My parents, who are now in their 70s and 80s, they never traveled until a few years ago. So when I started my corporate career, I thought luxury travel will solve the problem. So the first thing I did was to save money and plan a holiday, only to realize that no, it's not the money that was the challenge, but it was actually the inaccessibility of the destinations, the societal stigma around disability, and the the sight that disabled people can go and visit places, can be seen in public domains and travel and have fun. So when that happened, it led to a series of not so pleasant travel experiences. And my parents were more like, because they never traveled, they had accepted, like, in India, especially people are conditioned, people with disabilities are conditioned that if something is not for them, they just accept it and move on because you have so many other challenges going on an everyday basis. So, but I kind of got into arguments and fights at places about accessibility or about my parents not being able to access the place or the destination. And that led to a fight at a temple. I won't name them for obvious reason, which turned into a mob fight. And then my parents said, "We are not going anywhere. You go wherever you want to go." So that was the tipping point for me to look into, okay, what is the solution? And when I looked at solutions in other countries, there were some. which were like travel companies, it's like single disability focused. Like, okay, there's a company for wheelchair users, there's a company for blind people, there's a company for deaf people. But my parents have different disabilities and they got married like that. So my dad is blind and my mother is a wheelchair user. And that has been like, I was born to them like that. They got married like that. And now with age, they have other conditions as well. So, like, my dad has a hearing impairment as well, and other age related conditions too. So, I am a late diagnosed neurodivergent. So, in that case, like, none of these companies worked for us. I was like, what can I perhaps make a solution? And along with my corporate career, I was side hustling. So Planet Able is not my first, so to say, yeah, experience at starting up. But of course, it has aged well for 10 years now.
Great.
I later realized it was my ADHD that I was doing, like, with a decent corporate job, decent money, I was still doing side hustle because I wanted the kick out of it. So but I was closing them also the moment I lost interest or didn't work out. Um, but then when this idea came up, I was like, if I do start it, I cannot just close it and run away. Because if I do this, you are creating hopes in people. You are creating that there is a possibility that they can travel. And then you cannot run away. It's a lot of responsibility. So I first wanted to convince myself whether I can actually pull this off as a business, not as a charitable model, but like I really wanted it to be a business. So I did my homework for 2 to 3 years. There was no data around, there still isn't. So I sat at multiple in airports, which are considered the most accessible in the travel domain, and counted the number of people with disabilities coming out, whether it's an opportunity also, or talk to concierge who are outside the hotel, like at the airport, or talking to the hotels, like how often people with disabilities travel, what all disabilities, with what all types of disabilities, whether they're traveling for leisure, work, or not. So yeah, so until and unless I was convinced, I did not start it. So once, like, sitting in the office in Adobe, I was like, perhaps now I'm ready. And that was it. That was the resignation day.
Okay. That sounds tough but yet powerful. You said that inclusively, this is not a charity, that's an opportunity.
Mhm.
How do you see in this Indian context?
Indian context. See, inclusivity is an opportunity and not charity. By that I mean, if you create solutions for everyone, then it benefits also everyone, not just disabled people. So when we talk of inclusion, say, hey, I work in the space of disability, but then there are other disadvantaged groups as well, like LGBTQ community or people from the financially disadvantaged background. And in India, we have a caste system. Then there is a gender angle to diversity and inclusion. And but there is an intersectionality in all of that. So we, in Indian context, when we talk of people, we can say, oh, there is a woman who comes from a lower caste who happens to have a disability and also is a from a financially marginalized community. So all of those tick boxes can be in one person.
Yes, yes.
So you cannot really put people into buckets. So when we say inclusive, it has to include all diverse set of human forms that exist or around us. And they exist. You cannot just say they don't,
Totally agree.
right? And why it is an opportunity, so let me give you some numbers. Our census hasn't happened in a long while. But according to WHO, 15 to 20% of the world has a disability. That makes it 1.3 billion people. almost as the population of
That's a huge
India.
number. That's a huge number.
And not all disabilities are visible. And then you have people over 60, and we have an aging population. Like we have it globally, but India is also facing a challenge of aging very
Yes.
soon.
Yes.
Like we are already there, we just haven't realized it. And 46% of the aging population has a disability. So, if as a business, because we are talking opportunities, if we're as a business, you are not looking at this segment, you are missing out on business. If you are a business, and when you include, like, club all of these together and their family members, because agar like someone has to go to a coffee shop or for a dinner outside, they won't go alone. Mostly they might go with three more people. But if it is not accessible, you will lose business of four people, not one.
Yes, definitely.
So then you are missing out on nearly 25% of India's population's business. So that's a loss. That's why I call it an opportunity. And we do not have India numbers. Unfortunately, we don't track. But globally, uh, this segment holds $13 trillion of annual disposable income
Oh, that's a huge number.
that they want to spend on services and product if they are accessible and inclusive. So then again, it's a huge number. And also, not just from the financial perspective, also from the quality of product and service perspective. Many of the things that we use now every day
Okay.
are actually accessibility solutions which
Oh,
were invented for disabled people.
okay.
So, for example, you use a keyboard on your laptop. It is a successor to the typewriter. The typewriter was invented for the blind. You use pinch in and pinch out on your phone. That was invented for people with low vision.
Okay.
You use an electric toothbrush. That was invented for people with low hand mobility so that they could brush their teeth. A bottle opener was invented for people who cannot have grip in their hands. Texting, we all do texting more than calling now. That was invented for people who are deaf. So, all of these technologies
Yes.
that we see, these are just a few, there are so many more. So, these inventions were actually invented for disabled people, which every one of us use. They are so normalized and mainstream, we don't even say that they are accessibility solution. That is what being inclusive is. It's so mainstream, it benefits everyone. So, if you design for accessibility, if you design for disabled people, everyone benefits. Everyone gets a better experience of the product and service.
Yes. I totally
That
agree.
is why it is an opportunity.
I think awareness is not there, right?
Yes.
The main conclusion is awareness.
Yes. So the lack of awareness, and especially in Indian context, it's huge because disability is seen as death. No one wants to face it. No one wants to talk about it. It is not normalized. People
Yes.
hide their disabled family members
Yes.
inside. Like I have sometimes got to know people like who haven't moved out of the house for 5 years, 6 years.
Okay.
So someone asked for an accessible transportation while they were shifting a house after 8 years, and they told me that the disabled person hasn't moved out of the house in 8 years. So, like, we are not talking openly about disability. So again, if you are not seen in public, you do not exist. And if you do not exist, you are not a vote bank. And if you are not a vote bank, then the infrastructure, whether it's physical built environment or your digital infrastructure, it's not accessible. And people don't even know about it.
Yeah. So, do you think that it is more about accessibility or more about the equipments that they need actually in India? Because people with having such kind of disability, government has not been yet providing them any kind of, you know, things that can be accessible to these disabled people, like how they're going to do the basic things in their daily life. Like if you go to the railway station or in any of the airports, you only have that wheelchair. Apart from that, nothing else for the disabled people. So what do you think that is the total role of the Indian government is more responsible for that?
In a big way, yes, the government is responsible, and I would say they have the power to actually bring about the change. We have a very good disability law in place that came into force in 2017. It was passed in 16. So in before that, there were only seven disabilities that were recognized. Now there are 21.
Yes, totally agree.
So we are moving. I'm not saying we are not moving in the right direction, but it is too slow.
Okay.
And again, you have the law, and but what is the implementation of the law? Like for example, in US, they have the Americans with Disability Act for 35 years. 36 they will complete this year. If a business is not accessible for someone, you can actually sue the business for millions. And so they majority of them try to become accessible, at least to meet the compliance level. Uh, but here also we have the same law.
But it's not implementing.
But you know how our legal system
Yeah,
works.
definitely.
It's there, but like my websites, pictures of our tours, it was taken over by three more companies and published on their website for 2 years. I had to pay a lawyer to get them removed. And then I only decided not to sue them because who will fight the case for next 10 years on IP infringement?
Yes.
And you know how the IP laws in India are like.
Totally.
So I was like, okay, like once they're removed, it's fine. You just move ahead and like who has the time, money, and effort to be putting into this? You have to run a business.
Yes.
So it is there again, but like, and we are moving slowly, but again, until and unless there are no numbers, like the government numbers, like Indian census in 2011 says we have 2.2% of the population disabled.
Okay.
The world average is 15 to 20. And we have the maximum number of blind people in the world. So how can our data be 2.2%? It's not possible. So until and unless the data is right, until and unless there is, based on that data, there is resource allocation, budget allocation, how would that work? How would we see infrastructure changing? Or there is more awareness. Like, of course, there are a lot of NGOs that work towards it, advocacy and right-based work, and they do really good work. But again, it is a very, very slow process.
I think it's not even noticeable in the eye of government. That's why people it's the least concerned government, I think,
You're not a
for them.
vote bank
Yes, definitely.
because the numbers are not there. So if the number is not there, you're not a vote bank.
Yes.
So now some we have been working on, like some organizations have been working on accessibility of elections,
Okay.
because you should be able to go to the election booth to vote if you want.
At least for their benefit, for their profit.
Like, I mean, you want a change, like, okay, this person will do something for us. So you should be able to go and vote. I mean, that also is a challenge at many places. So yeah, I think like over the years, I have seen a lot of change, but again, it is still a very long way. And lack of awareness, because a lot of times we have this, Indians have this deniability about disability. Like,
Yes,
for
I agree with
example,
that.
like if there is a child with ADHD or autism, autism can have different way, in be in different forms, especially ADHD. Like I'll give my example. You will say, oh, he's just lazy, or she's just lazy, or she's just naughty, or she's just not interested. No, that is ADHD. You call a child or an adult just lazy and naughty and, just disinterested, but that does not mean that there is no underlying condition.
It's hardly noticeable. That's right.
Like we deny it, even if, we don't even go and get a diagnosis.
They think it's normal.
Yeah, like some children are just naughty,
Yes.
and some children are just lazy, or they're just, by themselves.
Yes.
So that is why, when you are there's no diagnosis, or, you know like I'll give you my another example, like, we in age related disabilities, हमारे यहाँ पे बोल देते हैं, I think they don't hear properly, it's age.
Yeah.
There is a cognitive loss, that's age. कम दिखाई दे रहा है, age. It's not considered a disability. In other countries, you even say, okay, if someone has cancer or is on dialysis and their regular life is restricted by it, or the condition creates barriers, it is a disability. Diabetes is a disability. And we are the diabetes capital of the world.
Now the world is taking seriously this diabetes things.
India is the diabetes capital of the world.
Nobody knows that.
Well,
India is more into denial things.
yeah, because like it's just diabetes.
Yeah. Cut
So-
out the sugar. You'll be all right.
No, they still eat sugar.
Anyways.
So like they'll eat jaggery.
yeah.
Good meat. So again, so like we have or this, like the social construct is like that half of the conditions or so-called disabilities are not even acknowledged that this is a condition that can, say, be managed, and a person can lead a normal life if they are managed well. So I think that, like the accepting of disability, or if someone gets disabled later in life, which is much more common, then we have this saying, "Oh, poor guy, bichara, ya bichari," like was over sympathetic attitude.
Yeah, coming to that same question, like Indian people have a lot of myths about that. Like disabled people are like that. So this, what do you think that how people see these disabled peoples?
bichare.
This is a myth. They are having a kind of biggest myth that nothing can be done with these people, or you know the whole perception is totally changed when they see any kind of disabled people. Right?
Yeah, I think with the new generation, it's changing because they are seeing so much more on the internet, and they're seeing other countries, people enjoying life, and you see more and more disabled people online.
Yes, definitely.
Instagram
That's a change.
influencers. So they have access to that, and they are more inclusive in their thought process by design. But then again, I think uh, why this exists, and because like we consider if someone is disabled and they're, you know it's the end, you cannot do anything about it, and you have to be taken care of by other people, that people cannot live independent lives, or they cannot earn their own livelihood, or have a job, or run a business, or have fun, or get married, or have children. So all of these are just prejudices around disability, that people think that disabled people are like this, and they are not making an effort to even change that. Like sometimes even the families, most often the families,
Most of the families, yes.
are like they control what, even if the disabled person in the house is even earning their own livelihood, family decides what, take decisions for them, like you can do this, you cannot do that, this is how you invest your money, this is how you not invest your money. I have seen so many because my parents have been disabled, so a lot of people my dad used to mentor, or they were family friends who had disabilities. So a lot of times I've seen their own families being so selfish and about the money this disabled person was
So
earning.
do you think it is a more selfish thing or more protective about them?
Both. They are both kinds of people. And I've seen both kinds of people. Sometimes they are overprotective, and sometimes they are selfish and they're like, oh, let's not allow them to get married. So whatever money they will earn, we'll get it. I have seen that. I mean, I've seen so much worse. Um, uh, so yeah, I won't get into the details, but they were depressing things, like so um, yeah, I think in that ways there is this overprotective thing of what a disabled person can and cannot do. So like we have this India, a lot of we stay with parents. In developed countries, you have this independent living concept that you
Yes.
go out and move and live
Yeah.
in your own, right? And here, even if I say, not my family, so sure, but a lot of times in other families, especially in tier two cities or tier three, a girl would go and say, hey, I want to live on my own. And the family would be like, no, no, get married, then you can live wherever you want. But
It's not an Indian culture.
yeah, whatever, like the thing. So imagine this about a disabled person.
Whole and soul control by the
Yeah.
parents or
Yeah. कि
guardians.
अगर बस like if they want to go to the mall to do shopping, they'll say, अरे तुम घर पे ही रहो हम ला देंगे. It's not about going shop like just buying something. It is about the experience of shopping, having a normalized life. To
Even they should be considered as a normal person, not
They are normal. It's
yes,
just
definitely they are normal, but the parents, the guardians are not considering them as a
I think it is changing a lot. Like especially it has changed a lot,
that.
especially in big
So,
cities.
so that's
I'm
a
not
great
denying that.
sign.
Huh?
That's a great sign.
Yes, yeah. We have so many multinationals now employing people with disabilities because our disability pension is meager, like
Okay, okay, okay.
starting from 300 rupees a month in some
Oh my god,
states.
that's hardly surviving.
Yeah, you perhaps will go and pay more for a Starbucks coffee if you will go for a coffee. So, yeah, so like look at that. अगर वो नहीं है, so people will work hard to survive, build a career, and do something. So, big companies, the international companies actually, multinationals saw it as an opportunity. So they hire a lot of disabled people, not as something under their CSR, but as an equal opportunity thing. The Microsofts, IBMs, Googles, Cisco, they
Yes,
hire a
yes,
lot of
yes.
people with disabilities. Because once people find that they are seen and they have all their accessibility accommodations are being met and the company cares about them, they don't leave. The attrition level is low.
Okay.
It makes good business sense for them. And like if they hire a deaf person, there'll be no distractions. They'll just focus on work.
Yeah, I think I closely witnessed in one of the mall. The whole shop has hired the
Deaf.
disabled people. Yeah, definitely, and that was so great. Thought.
Wow, that's amazing. Which was that?
I think West Side.
Oh,
Yes, I
yeah.
myself have.
I think I've seen like one deaf person at Pantaloons also.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
They
Absolutely.
work very honestly, and people can trust on that. So I I don't know the purpose behind that, but that's
Disabled लोगों में भी सब तरीके के लोग होते हैं.
as a person like
They're like, again, they're just people.
they're just people, right?
So they're good
Thank
and
you for
bad
correcting
people.
me.
Not every disabled person would be, like you said, they are honest.
No, no, no.
They are
That's not
people.
yeah.
We all are humans. Some just happen to have a disability.
Neha, tell us more about this planet able. Like how this idea all came through your mind.
I think I already told that our not so good travel experiences and my arguments at all places and the tipping point. That is how Planet Able started. I already mentioned about that. So the idea came about that. What was the question? This was the question. I
Yes.
already answered this.
Okay, okay.
So if it
Yeah.
repeat हो जाएगा ना so
हाँ, तो
इसको
we'll
रहने दो. हाँ.
move forward. So, can you tell more about real time of experience that you had that has actually made you shocked, or make you realize that, oh, this is something I need to do, some kind of experience that.
Um, so like I shared earlier, like one of the trips, there was this big argument that happened, and that was the tipping point that led me to leave my corporate career and start Planet Able. Now it's been 10 years, so I think the journey has been phenomenal. Like I've never been happier, and the kind of a lot of time, like I think when I said, like, we are all evolving. I am evolving as a person, as an entrepreneur, and Planet Able, being a person itself, is also evolving and growing and becoming its own person. So we started off as like we started by doing day trips to build trust in people, to make them explore the city that they have been living in all their lives, but never been to a monument or never been to a cafe or never been to the metro train and these activities. So I think these activities kind of built that trust, and I also wanted to have trust in myself that I can make sure that if they take a very long holiday with us, we can deliver a safe, seamless, accessible, and inclusive travel experience. So, what I think it all started by making the ecosystem aware and accessible and inclusive. So, for example, if we are going to a destination, you need to go there first, audit it, and see, okay, how accessible it is for what all types of disabilities, and what are the temporary arrangements we can do to make it more accessible. Train the hotel staff on how to cater to guests with different types of disabilities, whether the room in the hotel is accessible to their needs or not, for identifying and training the right guides who will be able to deliver the storytelling in an accessible way, depending upon the disability of the traveler, and then even training the drivers for that matter. Because one wrong word or one wrong body language can actually destroy the whole travel experience. So, because I grew up with disability, I know where shit can happen. So the goal was not to let it happen. You kind of prepare the whole thing in a way that people can have an amazing travel experience. Because sometimes these are the people who are traveling for the very first time in their lives.
Okay.
So that's a lot of trust being put on you. And if something goes wrong, they might not be able to take that leap again because they've already made a lot of effort and convinced themselves that they can travel. So I think that led to being very, very meticulous about the details of each and every trip that we have carried till now. And then I think, like I said, like the whole idea of Planet Able is it's for everyone, making the planet able for everyone. So we don't say, okay, we are for this disability or that disability. Everyone can travel with us, and you can name any disability or condition. In last 10 years, we have catered to them, whether it's mobility, reduced mobility, full-time wheelchair users, blind people, deaf people, hard of hearing, people with autism, people with dementia, people with cancer, people on dialysis, all sorts of things. And Our group trips are always inclusive, wherein people with various disabilities and non disabled travel together. 10 years on, we are still the only company in the world who does that.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, because I understand it's difficult, but for me personally, this is my life experience. So for me, inclusive means everyone.
Yes.
So I mix everyone. And it is, I would say, like privilege of my birth that we can pull it off because I've lived with it for 41 years. So, yeah,
Yeah.
bring it on and we'll make it happen. So, and again, whatever Planetable is today, people have built it. They have come and asked, Neha, I want to do rafting. Neha, I have to want to do skiing. Neha, I want to go here. And I'm like, okay, why not? And that's has been the only thing. I was perhaps the least traveled travel company owner when I started
Okay.
because I hadn't traveled. Like, like Lonely Planet's article has a
Actually,
heading
coming to exactly
that,
that
I
point.
had to trust start a travel company so that I could
Oh,
travel.
okay. Okay. So, I have heard a lot of successful stories, but coming to that point, successful, it's after the failures, right? So, what was your biggest failure, or you can say a setback that you have faced during this journey?
I actually don't call failures failures. Like, this is me. There's no failure. There's always a learning, there's always a lesson.
Yes.
And being an entrepreneur, you can, like, you can be very sure that 99 of the things out of 100 that you try won't work. This is a given. So, and you should be prepared for that. Sometimes even the 100 won't work. And that would be a lesson. That's it. There is never a failure. There are always lessons. You learn from it, you make it into a standard procedure, and then you move on. You're the lesson learned. So we can say, like, all the side hustles I had, they were not
That's a
failures.
part of
That
journey.
was my real life, investing in my real life MBA without
Yeah.
going to an MBA college.
Okay.
All the money I earned, I burnt into those side hustles. And that was my, MBA fee. Doing real time MBA, running businesses. So I think I don't, like, for me, they are never a failure. There is always a learning. And that is what it is. This is what life is.
Yes, definitely. It's inspiring. It's inspiring everywhere.
I'm not sure of that, but yeah. Like, I live by that.
Okay. So, coming to India point, like India, what do you think? Like in India, this do these people like India support this social entrepreneurship, or the growth of social entrepreneurship?
I think it is changing now, but again, it is. I see. So, like, when like pre-COVID, if we talk about, we were looking to raise some funds. Everyone would come and tap on your shoulder. बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही हो करती हो. But no one would look at your deck or your finances. They would just say, because they don't even think that disability could be a business. They think it's a charitable model. So, yeah, so I decided to make a company in Vienna. Because there is more openness about social impact and everything. But I think it is changing. Like, we are looking at a lot of impact funds and investment coming into it. But again, India has been on the run for very long, where, there was a time there was investment in ed tech,
Yes,
fintech,
yes. Startups and all.
yeah, now it is still there, but, like, they had this domains they were just investing,
Hmm.
whether it was the e-commerce and then it was fintech or edtech. I think it has changed now after so many of these unicorns went bust. So it has changed, but I think still there are, like, disability. Also, I think some investment is coming in, but again, as a business, how many disabled people are are able to afford these? Affordability remains an issue, even with Planetable. Not everyone can afford Planetable. I would say that on the face, and like even though I run this business, not everyone can afford to travel with Planetable. It is expensive
Okay.
because until and unless the destination is accessible,
Point.
how would the cost go down? Because you have to, you have to train the staff, you have to invest money in lobbying, or getting special permissions, or training people and all of that. So
Yeah.
that is a cost, right? So again, then if places are accessible by design, if travel content is accessible by design, if people are trained on inclusion and accessibility, on how, as when we talk of customer service, they should be taught that customer service to a disabled person, how would that be? If it's part of standard procedure, then it's not expensive, because then economies of scale come in. So that is what we have been trying to do now. So as part of our training and consulting division, we train other tourism and hospitality stakeholders, other travel companies, how to do it right. I'm creating my own competitors.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, and like in the sense, okay, how if we have more and more travel companies doing it, if we have more and more hotels investing in training their staff, then we will in or training their staff of food and beverage establishments, we will reach a place where a person with disability can go to the museum, buy a 50 rupees ticket, and still have an accessible and inclusive travel experience without the intervention of Planetable. That is what the long term goal is. I want to shut down my travel services business because I should not be doing it in the first place if travel
Totally
was
agree.
accessible.
Yes, yes.
So, if everyone does it, it becomes part of the design, it becomes part of standard procedure, standard framework, standard policy. Everything is standardized. Accessibility is mainstream. So, that is my life goal. That would be the legacy I would want to leave behind. That, okay, in my lifetime, mainstreaming of accessibility and inclusion in the tourism industry. So yeah, and I see that changing slowly. There are many travel companies in India who are taking our training programs,
Okay.
and they're investing money. They are paying us to do that.
Great.
So which is great. We'll have more and more people doing it right. I
Yeah.
think that is important because these 10 years I've seen so many companies come and go and not being able to sustain themselves as an accessible travel business. So we must be doing something right to survive 10 years. So why not share that with the world?
Definitely. So talking about the growth, right? So do you think that this
Inclusivity.
inclusivity come from policymakers or education or morality or personal
It
things?
comes from all of us.
All of us.
All of us, each and every person around us, you, me, him, everyone here has a responsibility to be inclusive.
Okay. And how the schools and colleges going to play the main role in this?
If colleges and schools are inclusive, so you have a disabled person studying, like a child studying in the same class with children, you know?
That's not happening. Many.
Yeah, that's not happening. But once that happens in one generation, you'll be through. You do. We should not be talking about accessibility. So because then everyone would know. I have a friend who is blind who studied in my class. So if I make a website, I have to make it accessible for him. If I am in, say, running a cafe, I will remember, oh, I had a friend in school. She was a wheelchair user. She should be able to come to my cafe. So I should be wheelchair accessible.
Yes.
So then you have relatability because you lived with those people. You grew up with people, with children who had disabilities. So they are part of your thought process. So this is what happens in our inclusive group tours.
Okay.
So when the non-disabled people come to the tours and they are a travel buddy to a disabled person, they're like, ah, the मेरे ही जैसा है. They just happen to have a disability. And I have seen they becoming friends, hanging out at each other's houses without us. Or calling me and saying, hey, I want to make my office accessible or hire persons with disability. How can I do that? This is the ripple that I'm talking about that inclusive group travel does, which I never anticipated. This happened organically on our group tours. I'm like, what is happening?
That sounds
And
fun, right?
yeah, it is fun. And you are not like, I would want corporates to pick this up who do these DEI and diversity and inclusion trainings. Uh, and I've pitched to a lot of them because a win-win model is, people who cannot afford to travel. You travel with them, you pay for them, and then your diversity and inclusion training is done for life. Because when you are in an unofficial setting and you are having fun and everyone is included,
Yes.
you get to know people, not as someone with a disability. And there is cross disability awareness as well. Like, blind people get to know more about wheelchair users get to know more about deaf people.
It's a passing of knowledge is also.
Yeah, it's like, like coming and witnessing um, how different we are and how we are still the same as humans. So seeing the human and, meeting the human as humans to each other instead of someone is a wheelchair user, that is just part of their lives or their body. It's not who they are as a person.
Okay, so I think we are coming to the end of this discussion. But before that, I want to like add a few more things. What is like a single thing, or you can add something in your daily behavioral changes, like that can be adopted by the Indian society towards these disabled people, or you can say differently abled people.
No, disabled is the right word,
Right
differently
word.
able is not the right word.
Okay, the
It's a
court has
euphemism.
been added this word, so
Who has added?
court has they wanted them to be sound pretty much good.
You have disabled lawyers in this country.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so who are now practicing. I have friends who practice in Supreme Court. Yes.
Yeah, I do have witnessed one guy who's can't see, but he argued in the court of Karnataka High Court. He argued very well, so he was very fine with that.
Yeah. So again, I think you also said these people.
I'm sorry for that.
No, that's okay. This like I think it's good to point that out because we always think it's us versus them. These people. It's not us versus them. We all are us.
We all are us.
We all are us.
This is the mindset I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That
so
needs
we
to be
all are.
changed.
You just like said it because it was you just didn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fluently, like
yeah.
yeah.
So, but then again, there's no us versus them. This is we all are us, and disability is say the largest minority in the world, and anyone can become part of it at any point in time, and it will come to you sometime in your life for sure. So you were just one accident, one medical condition, age, one newborn with a disability or genetic condition away. So, 1 in 6 people around us has a disability. And whether permanently or whether temporarily, you will come across disability at some point in your life.
Totally agreed.
So, whether directly through you or to your loved one or friends, you will always have that. So, again, this is to answer your question, that is the one thing we all of us can do is one thing, whatever you're doing, make sure you're not excluding anyone. If you are working in a company, make sure the product or the service that they are making is accessible and inclusive for everyone. Think of it. Who am I excluding? Can a blind person access it? Can a disabled, like a wheelchair user, access it? Can a deaf person access it? Think of it that way. Uh, and then you are inclusive in your thought process. It would be a journey. It's not something you do it and, like it would be done. No, it will be a journey for you as a person. I still learn every day. I don't know everything. I still learn about disability and accessibility every day, and it will go on. You should be open to learning. And, like, think of dignity for people with disabilities. Like, they're like, not as, again, we have talked about it, that the attitude that usually exists. So think of them as just people who happen to have a disability. And yeah, that's all we can do in our daily lives. And one more, I think what you can also do. If you see some person with disability who's not able to fight for themselves and their rights, go ahead and fight for them.
Thank you, Neha, for this incredible journey of yours, sharing a lot of things to our viewers.
My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
I
Thank
hope
you.
it was useful for everyone and the audience.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.